everyone, welcome back to the Krita class video. We're going to go over how to make your own custom grass brush in Krita because I needed to make a new one and I thought it'd be a good time to show you how to do it yourself. For the most part, making the grass itself will be easy, but the brush features will be in the next video. Right now I just want to keep it simple so we don't get overwhelmed with all the information. So this is going to be the end result that we're going to be doing in this two-part series, and it'll be fairly simple once we get into it. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make our grass. So I went ahead and I just quickly made a grass brush here, and you can see it's definitely not perfect. It's got some missing chunks here. It's a little rough, and that's okay. I mean, no one's really going to see this super up close. When I go to make it, I can go ahead and make it a little better, clean it up a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and make this ourselves. So I'm just gonna hide my layer and we're gonna make a new brush. So to start with, I like to start with like a 50% gray usually, and that way it gives me a little bit more color flexibility, but it does make the brush a little transparent. And we'll go over how to modify that in the next video. So we're just gonna make our brush. This is like the stamp or the pattern or whatever you wanna call it that we're gonna be making. Now, it doesn't really matter what brush you use. I use the basic airbrush here, the basic 3 flow, just to start with the base. And then I went with my usual ink, I think it's the Ink 3 G pen, something like that. I use that to just kind of go in and refine the detail. So the way I approached this originally is I just went and I just made the overall shape here. I didn't go and overthink this, and like I just need something that looks like grass, that has the grass look, which is blades of grass going everywhere, and go from there. And the reason I started with the airbrush is just so I can get the blocking in of the shape. And then I went back with my usual brush and I went and refined some of those shapes to be more solid blades of grass. Now you can use multiple layers for this. It doesn't have to be all single layers. If you're unsure about, maybe you're adding like different directions of the grass blades and you want to kind of change it up here, maybe you want some that's taller and you want to make variations of it, which you can absolutely do. You can go ahead and do it separate layers, so you can turn them on and off and say this is like short blade, this is a mixture, and then this is the long only, like long blades of grass. So I'm just going to go ahead and refine this here. And then I'll come back and show you what it looks like when it's done. Alright, so our chunk of grass is done. Now if you can see over here in my overview docker, it looks like grass, which is pretty good. I went and I just cut the bottom of this just to make it like a sharp edge. You don't have to do that. I'm actually going to make a variation where this is kind of like softer. Just going to blend it. And that will help us blend this in with our base ground. But for now, I'm gonna just keep it solid. So if you made this let's say like a much darker gray, you want to bring it back to a lighter gray, you can just go ahead and lock the transparency, take a brush, make it very large, and you can go ahead and change the overall gray color of this. So it's really just personal preference, and we'll go over like the differences and how that affects your custom brush in the next video. So for now, I think we're going to stick to the mid-tone gray, which is what I had already. I think that's a little darker, but that's fine. All right, so we're just going to save that. We're going to save it as a Krita file first because you want to make sure if we want to make changes or we just want like a individual library of grass brushes, we had that working file to refer back to later, make modifications from, or just hold all the grass brushes that we make. Now, if you're working with a background and the opacity is at 100%, so usually I have gray, but obviously I was working in gray, so I didn't have it on. What you can do is go to your image properties here and you can turn your opacity down to 0 if it's already at 1. Now, some people may have their background color as just a layer, in which case just make sure you hide that and turn it off. So now we have to save this out as a transparent image. We're gonna go to File, Save As. You can see I have, so I already have a folder for all this. So I'm gonna go down to the Save As. I'm gonna save as a PNG because we want to retain that transparency. If you want to save it as a TIFF, you can. I'm not really worried about color here because again, it's just grayscale, and I'm gonna modify it when I go to actually use it in illustration anyway. So I'm just gonna name this as O2 as a second option. I'm gonna hit OK. Awesome. So I'm gonna go back to my main illustration part here, just because it's easier to look at. It doesn't really matter what file you're in to import the grass clump that we just made. I'm just gonna stick in my illustration one just to make it easier on my eyes. On the top here in the toolbar, you have a brush mode, like a layer mode almost. And then we have our little colors, our foreground and background colors. And then there's this like little icon here with like the 3 lines and a squiggly. That's our brush engine. So here we can modify our brushes, make changes to them, make new ones, duplicate, all sorts of things. And the reason we're doing this, and the reason we're going to be going over the actual custom brush part in the next video is just because it's going to be a little bit more complicated and I don't want to overwhelm you. I'm going to keep the fun part here and then the boring part. So this is what it looks like by default. So I have my custom ink brush already selected. You can see I have specific settings turned on for this. If you go to brush tip, go to predefined, you can see here all of a sudden we have a lot of different options for the brush tip. Now if you look in this little box in the top left corner-ish here, clicking them, it definitely changes how the brush looks. Now these are not patterns, but they do affect how the stroke looks. So it's really, if you want to just mess with it and see what it looks like, you can. Now I've already imported my one clump brush. We want to import the new one we just made. I'm going to go to import. I'm going to go to the folder where we saved out our PNG. I'm going to click on the grass brush 2. I'm going to hit open. So these are in alphabetical order that show up. So if you named it something different, like, I don't know, maybe you said like yellow grass or something like that. Maybe like you want a specific look for yellow grass. It may be at the bottom when you import it. So just keep that in mind. Nothing disappeared, nothing got lost, just gotta go by alphabetical order. So now we have our second clump grass, or grass clump. We can also assign them tags. So if you want to make a new tag, we can just say grass. We can do that for the next one. And we can search by tag now. So if we go to the all, we hit grass, and now we have the 2 clumps of grass that I've made. So if you want to do something besides grass, you absolutely can. You can make maybe rocks, you can make a fern. I made a fern brush, which in hindsight, it's okay, it's not great. You can make just leaves. So if you're doing illustration with trees, you don't want to like do every individual leaf. You want to just kind of like give the illusion of individual leaves. So something like this would be good. This one works too. I think I've used this a couple times. There's just different things you can do to make your own brush. Or if you just want to make some crazy strokes, we can absolutely do that too. Maybe some cracks, maybe, I don't know, whatever you want to do. Alright, so that's it for this video. So your homework is going to be making your own grass clumps or whatever other type of brush you want to use for your little mini illustration scene. I definitely want to suggest making a couple variations, making yourself a master Krita file for these brushes, and making a master folder to save them out when they're done so you have everything in one place. And make sure when they're done and you've saved them out, you import those brush tips back into Krita with the brush editor under the brush tip mode. And in the next video, I will show you how to make the actual brush to get this type of result. Thank you guys for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on the next video, and I will see you then.